I'm in San Francisco, but more specifically, Chinatown. I'm here to make 2 Chinese cleavers, one for Chef Kathy and one for her father, who's very intimidating. The cleaver is a formidable blade to make. Will I be able to achieve their approval through putting my own twist on these knives? Let's find out. Chinatown is like a city within a city.
Yes.
It's got a lot of history, and it was built upon immigrants trying to establish a community. So how does your family tie into that with House of Nanking as well?
You know, Chinatown has essentially been our community, our home, ever since my parents stepped foot into the United States. So they immigrated from China, and the first place they landed was San Francisco, Chinatown specifically, right? That's where they went straight after they landed in the airport, because that's where their network was, right? They had a relative there. And then, you know, especially at that time, everyone kind of banded together because they were going to a foreign country. So anytime there was somebody that maybe you didn't even know, you automatically felt like they were part of your own village and community. And when finally both my parents saved enough money after working many, many restaurant jobs, they decided to open their own, which is House of Nanking.
Most of your childhood, if you're not in school, you were with your parents in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So is that one reason why you're a chef?
I think that is 100% why I became a chef. For my parents and a lot of traditional Chinese families, being a chef is, at that time, not really highly regarded, right? It's kind of looked down upon. It's something that you go into, it's manual labor. You go into it because you didn't make it in school. Or for my parents, they went into it because they couldn't speak the language. They didn't feel like they were educated enough.
I get that, because as Persians, if you're not a doctor, then you're less than, you're peasants.
You're not a doctor, and you need to be like a heart surgeon, a surgeon.
Lawyer, doctor, surgeon. Do you like using a Chinese cleaver?
I think sometimes when people hear cleaver, they think it's like something like a machete. They think it's something that's huge,
like
clunky. They don't know that it actually can take care of everything other than like your paring knife, basically, right? And I guess in the kind of like immigrant kind of mentality is that like we're frugal about everything, so we're like perfect. That works for us.
One thing, we're good. We don't need to keep adding to the inventory.
Exactly.
That makes sense. If there was something that you could change in the Chinese cleaver, what would it be?
It's the weight and the size. My dad's never had a valuable knife. If you ever step into our restaurant, he has a car that's like 20 years old that he won't get rid of, that like has lost its bumper.
Wow.
So my dad...
He's got the Chinese cleaver mentality.
Yes. You know what my dad used to tell me, which is interesting, is he would say, you know, if all your life you've only had porridge, you won't know how good lobster is. So like, I think it'd be very exciting for my dad to actually experience a really, really beautiful, nicely made knife.
We're making you a Chinese cleaver, and the idea of gifting your father a Chinese cleaver is exciting, but I also wonder like what his reaction is gonna be.
You can never tell what he's gonna.
Yeah, that's what's making me a little intimidated, to be honest. I mean,
I'm intimidated by my dad too.
Oh, okay, all right, fair. The Fang family owned 2 restaurants, and in both, only Chinese cleavers were present, meant to be used to break through bone, slicing, chopping, you name it. Cleavers are convex in their edge, meaning the bevels are slightly round. When watching Chef Kathy use her knife, I noticed that they were somewhat dull, and that's okay because steel does that. I have to make 2 knives that solve what she doesn't like in a cleaver, the weight. This material is actually meant for pool cues. There's gonna be slight alterations that suits their needs, and I hope I don't disappoint because I'm not gonna go the traditional route. I've just been sitting here looking at this drawing and thinking, I don't know what to do. Okay, let's just go do this. Chinese cleavers are typically tall for clearance and cutting everything, and their handles are mostly cylindrical. When gripping it, it's comfortable, but I think we can tweak it a bit. I'm actually looking forward to these handles. Wow, that's so cool. Look at those, done. This is Takefu Special Steel. It's imported from Japan and manufactured there as well. Ooh, it's heavy. It has Mokume Gane as the cladding. In this sense, Mokume Gane is brass and copper jacketing the hardened core of this steel. Right now in this annealed state, the brass, copper, and high carbon steel is all parallel lines. So if I grind it, you're just gonna see straight lines. There's no dynamic movement. So we have to do some cold forging to move the layers. But first I gotta cut up this hunk of steel. Woo! The process of cold forging is not an unknown technique. Rather than heating the steel in what you would see traditionally in a forge, cold forging improves the toughness in steel, and that's definitely what we want if we're breaking bone. We squish the blade with textured dies that move the layers within the steel, so once we grind you will see the layers of copper, brass, and the core have a dynamic look to them. The steel is in a soft state and is very malleable, but it has warps all over, so we gotta go back to flat dies to roll it out and prepare for heat treatment. For Mr. Fang's cleaver, we're going to stick to the traditional height, which is taller, and for Chef Kathy's, a little bit shorter so there's less material, which means less weight. No. Oh. The large cleaver can fit into the quench tank, but by a couple millimeters. If there is a slight error, I will hit the exterior of the quench tank, and that could cause a warp. I gotta really get the motion. Moving forward, I do need to get a bigger quench tank. In goes the first. I don't even know if this thing fits in the kiln. Okay, yeah, we're good. Should have checked that. Cool. Perfect. Edge test. We quenched successfully, and now we're going to go through the tempering process. We're going to lower the hardness, and we're going to see barely fitting in. All right, so for the large cleaver, we are sitting around 456 grams, which is basically 16 ounces, which is 1 pound. We're trying to get it to be around 300 grams. For the small cleaver, we are sitting around 353 grams, which is about 12 ounces, about 4 ounces shy from a pound. A lot of material to take off. Oh, it's gonna be a lot of work. Because this is not about how to make a knife versus how I made a knife, and for the sake of not being repetitive, I've abbreviated how long it took me to grind these knives. And believe me, it took a long time. But throughout this, all I was thinking about was making sure that these cleavers solve the things that Chef Kathy is looking for. The Chinese cleavers are ground, and now we have to go for conditioning and hand sanding. My favorite. Before we do that, we're gonna check the weight of these cleavers and see how much we took off. So as far as the first one, we've taken off about half a pound. It's a lot of metal. And for Chef Kathy's, we've got about 164 grams. That's like 6 ounces. This is very light, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. Hopefully we can make her a believer. I've ground pretty consistently with both knives, so we're just gonna use one knife. Let's use the large one. I didn't sharpen this knife, so you can tell. I don't have my test handle, but I guess I'll just do this uncomfortably. So let's give it a shot. Whew. Nothing. Look at that again. Laser. Cut down the middle. Chop. I kind of now understand why Chinese cleavers are so widely used. That was a ton of fun. Carrots. I mean, nothing. Perfect. Looking good. And dip. Now if you remember, these cleavers underwent cold forging with textured dyes. So when etching these blades, you now get to see how much movement of the layers are in the steel. And that's why this process never gets old for me, because it's different each time. A full day soaking in coffee. Let's take a look. Ooh. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I'm good with that. A simple wipe down with mineral oil to protect the steel, and man am I pleased to see how unique these blades look. We're gonna put this together. So the big one goes with the black handle. Man, that's really cool. I love it. And it's not heavy. This looks very big, but it's very light. And on to the next one. I love this. This looks really, really good. I've got to adjust some of the fitting, but we're in a good spot. We're gonna engrave the knife with the maker's mark. We're gonna pack this up, and we're gonna go deliver. Would I ever make 2 Chinese cleavers back to back again? Absolutely not. My hands died yesterday. But this was a pleasure to make. It really was. Now we're gonna see if both of them like it. I now inject a 2-ton epoxy into the handle, which binds the tang permanently to the blade, and let it cure overnight. These things are lasers. Check this out. Ooh, I'm really happy on how these turned out. I may have overdone the large one. I don't really know. If you see on the sides, a little of the carbon is exposed on the bevels. That's because I ground them very thin, which kind of creates a unique character to them. One for the daughter, one for the father. So of course, will it cut? All right, so this is the moment where Chef Kathy is going to see the Chinese cleaver for the first time. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's find out. Go ahead.
Ta-da! Oh my God! That is so pretty. And oh my goodness. Wow. It feels very like me.
And you can see I tried to make it very thin and lightweight. I didn't want it to be overwhelming.
It already feels very light.
Okay.
This is so pretty.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, we're gonna see if it can cut through the bone.
Oh my God.
Oh, look at that. Look at how easy that was. Look at how easy that was going through. It's very comfortable. It's incredibly sharp and very light.
Dang, right to the skin.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome,
This
you're
is
welcome.
Such an incredible knife. This is the best knife.
And with your dad, it's a little bit bigger, but it's the same, almost identical, same weight.
My dad's gonna love this.
Okay, I'm gonna wipe it down.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Yeah, we're good?
Yeah, I'll bring him up.
I am feeling very nervous. Now, before I show Mr. Fang's reaction, I want to paint a picture that during this whole time he was quiet and somewhat stern. But anytime his daughter was cooking, he was always observing and ever present. Over time, it translated as endearing to me because it showed the loving relationship between father and daughter. Now, after he sees the knife, there's a little spark that's happening.
I have a special gift for you. I know that you don't like to spend very much money on yourself, but also things like even something as basic as a Chinese cleaver that we use every day in the restaurant and at home. So we have this very special cleaver for you that we're gonna reveal.
Ooh, what is that?
Ooh. Yes, made just for you.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
From Max. You gotta pick it up and feel how light, or what do you think about the feel?
Oh, yeah, it's a very light. Ooh, is that beautiful?
Be careful, I don't want to.
Yeah. Very sharp, so
Yeah,
be
I
careful
know,
with it.
I know. It's like an awe.
Yeah.
It's a piece of awe.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Let me try that. Oh. Oh, 老款了.
Volcano means, oh my god, it's so fast.
Very sharp.
That's good. Good.
You can feel it. Yeah.
Mm.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you just it touch just perfect. That's a very good.
Thank you.
Expect the opposite.
As I got to know Chef Kathy, a fascinating story emerged. One that wasn't about her, but about the man who shaped her love for food, her father.